Everybody good on recording? Cool.
Good afternoon, Loic. Nice to see you.
No, can I take my mask off?
Yeah.
How you doing?
Doing well. What's the last 2 to 3 weeks been for you folks on the offensive line? 2 bye weeks and an FCS opponent. What have you been doing to get better during this time?
This time has definitely been awkward. It's like the first time we've had so many bye weeks in such a short term, and I have a lot of games. But just mainly taking care of our bodies. Practicing, making sure like we still don't lose our touch. Just keep making sure like we still feel the same way, just taking care of our body.
You feel as a group that looking at the results in the ground game the last 2 games, do you feel like the group is taking strides on the offensive line?
Definitely. I think we've taken a lot of pride into being able to run the ball as a whole line and being able to finish our blocks and do all those extra things and sustain the blocks and doing all that. I definitely think this is something that we've tried to develop and grow over the past couple of years. And I feel like we finally starting to put everything together and it's starting to like emerge.
You mentioned not losing your touch, these last couple of weeks with the bye weeks. What have you guys been doing in practice to make sure you don't lose that touch?
A lot more like drill work, a lot more competing against the ones instead of like scouts. Just making sure like we aren't like, I guess, being complacent and not going against the scouts and stuff. Just practicing against the ones, just making sure like we are able to keep doing the same thing that we usually do.
How do you keep that momentum from the game against Campbell to kind of try to translate over into the game against Virginia?
Just by not being complacent, never sustain, always try, like Coach always mentioned, trying to ascend, always find ways to get better and grow as a player and as a whole unit.
You guys look at these next, you have 8 games coming up here in 9 weeks where you're going to be taking on the bulk of your ACC schedule. How do you look at that as a challenge, at the time to kind of just show how good you guys can be?
It's definitely a challenge, but it's not a challenge I'm not saying it is a challenge in a bad way. It's a challenge that's a good way because we have a lot of things to prove. We've not even reached half of our schedule, and a lot of people think we are going to have a bad season or all this or all that. But I think I'm looking at it as a way of like these upcoming games, every time you play an ACC game, there's always going to be a challenge because it's 2 teams going against each other. 2 good teams going against each other, but it's the team that's always the most prepared and the team that does the little bit of extra stuff that's going to be able to come out with a win. So it's definitely going to be a challenge, but it's a challenge that I feel like Wake Forest, we'd be ready for.
Loic, it's interesting that you guys are playing Virginia and you guys have both lost to the same opponents, both 1 and 2. I mean, how even do you think you guys are, and what have you seen from their defense?
Virginia defense, I really personally think is a really good defense. They have a lot of returning old starters coming back. They play hard. They know what they're doing. Watching the NC State game, you could tell this is a team that we're going. I feel like we are able to block, but it's not going to be an easy game. It's going to be a hard game because there are good players, but it's going to be an exciting game. I'm really excited about this challenge because I think we, as a whole unit, are ready for it.
Loic, it's October 13th, and y'all have played 3 games. I think in high school you probably would have played like 8 or 9 at this point. Last year, I feel like you guys have played like maybe 6 or 7.
Yeah.
It's 2020, so everything is on the table, but is that kind of weird to you that we're in the middle of October already and you guys have only played 3?
It's definitely awkward. It's throwing my whole system off a little bit. I'm not even gonna lie to you. It's really strange. But it's like you said, it's 2020. Nothing is normal. Nothing is usual. You just gotta wake up the next day and just try to be the better person. But I feel like our coaches and our whole staff have done their best to be able to handle all this all this craziness the best way, have helped us, helped our body, helped us with everything. So I feel like even though it's awkward, I feel like we've still getting the same amount of work and we still like ready for whenever we are going to play, whoever we're going against.
Given that said, do you feel like this team is still kind of searching for its identity and searching for what it does well and what it needs to still improve on?
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Given all that, given the awkwardness and how out of the loop it is from normal, do you feel like this team is kind of searching for its identity a little bit still?
I really don't think we're still searching for identity. I think we haven't had the opportunity to prove and show people what our identity is. I feel like we know as a team what our identity is, but it's just we haven't had the games, we haven't had the opportunity to be able to show people what our identity is.
Do you like to pass block or run block? What's your favorite?
You try to get me in trouble. Both. I say both.
Okay. Well, and in your offense, you got to do both. I mean, how important is it for you guys to stay balanced? I know you guys were, completely balanced against Campbell, but that's kind of the whole concept of your offense, isn't it?
It's really important because that's the whole thing behind our offense. You have two options of one. So it's like we have to run the ball, but at the same time we got to be able to throw the ball. We can't let our opponent use to one side of our offense. So I feel like it's really significant to be balanced with our offense.
But if Sam asks, you like to pass block better, right? Is that?
Yeah.
If we ask Coach Tobacco, what would he say you like to do better?
He probably say something coaches always say. You have to be able to do both. I mean, I honestly couldn't tell you.
Loic, stepping into a larger role this season, what's your comfort level at this point?
I felt like I've always been a leader. I've always carried myself a certain way. It's just like you said, just being able to realize that a lot of people are actually looking up to you. It's not just about yourself, or you have to be able to also be able to help other people. And it's just I've always been a leader, but now it's like I have to be comfortable understanding that I have to be able to reach out to other people and make sure they're okay. Just being, I guess, a more like an outside, extrovert leader, kind of, because I've always been like an introvert. I'm always to myself, but I'm always going to do everything that's right. But a lot of people sometimes you need a lot of people sometimes need that extra help, and just being the extrovert leader, just be able to reach out and make sure guys are okay and doing what they're supposed to do.
Loic, you talked about how unusual the year has been. Is it even harder because of the position you guys play, where communication is so important and being close-knit? Has that made it any more difficult?
I would say before the season started, it definitely has, because our summer was really, it wasn't even a summer, to be honest. It was really weird. We didn't have time to spend a lot of times with each other. The time that we had, we really couldn't because of COVID issues. We didn't have time to go out and do team stuff. But then once we started creating our own bubble, we started dying down to camp. We started getting into camp, into the beginning of the season. We started spending a lot of time with each other. And that helped us create, understanding, okay, this is how this guy plays, this is how this guy plays, and just getting closer with each other. I think at first it was an issue, but we're starting to kind of change that and starting to learn and starting to grow with each other.